Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Super Series Tournament Division 1, the first game of the competition here in the first division. I am Whymsy. Alongside me for this opener is Xenolot as we take you through this clash between Toasted Bagels and SGFC. And I mean, Div 1 for this, compared to previous Super Series tournaments, is looking absolutely stacked.
Yeah, I said it in the lobby as we were waiting for the game to start, but looking at the tiers, the ranks of everyone, I said it's a scary lobby, especially when you're lower elo. So I am expecting a lot of high tier play. We do have quite a few members from the lower tier leagues, the UKEL, the UKLC. So we should be expecting a little more meta picks rather than comfort a lot of the time, as we are already underway with picks and bans.
Yeah, as much as we love the memes of Div 2, this is where the real meaty stuff comes in. Already in picks and bans, as you said, and we're seeing a bit of comfort being taken away here. The Ivern, the Fiora being denied from Toasted Bagels, who start this series on the blue side. Whereas on the opposite side, we're seeing the Karma and the Vladimir being taken away. This raises a question because, I mean, both Vayne and Bard are up at the moment. You would imagine one of them is going to be the third ban coming through. It's actually going to be the Thresh. So both the maids for Vade God and Mask of Jelly are available, and I'm questioning Toasted Bagel's approach, whereas SGFC have gone for the much more standard. We look at Europe.gg, we take away the top champion, Kog'Maw, the final ban for them.
Yeah, I think maybe SGFC are just more worried about the actual strong meta picks coming in, but even then, Kog'Maw is a comfort. But the Karma and the Thresh taken away by Toasted Bagels, just leaving everything up for Vanguard. So it'd be interesting to see if they do default to the Vayne. Vayne can't be picked freely into anything, as the Tristana is taken away. A really good flex pick can even go in to the possible top lane as well as the ADC and mid lane picks if top lane allows it. We do see the Lulu taken away. Again, another possible flex pick, especially into the mid and top as well, as the Udyr is picked up for Goose. So one of the strongest junglers in the game taken away. We do expect to possibly see the Hecarim, but Olaf is a comfort pick for Dunyan, and it is actually taken away.
Yeah. So both these teams getting their hands on their preferred junglers here. Udyr and the Olaf making sense for both of these players, especially in this meta right now. I would imagine that SGFC would look to take their AD carry here when it comes to their R3, but right now we're seeing what the response is, and they're going to look for the Alistair to pair up with what is likely going to be a Tristana. Obviously, we do sometimes see that flexed in the mid lane, but for the most part, I would expect that to be in the hands of Postman Pat here. Wheeler on the Alistair there, his key support pick, taking that into game one here, looking for a bit of comfort, but we'll see what the option is. Barry is on a lower level account, so we will be using a placeholder here. Hopefully we can get some information on what that pick is as soon as possible. Oh, it's Vayne. Yeah, so it is the Vayne bot lane, and Vayne, I think he'll be pretty happy to get his namesake here in the very first game in the tournament.
Yeah, well, maybe just Toasted Bagels testing the waters to leave that one through. As you said, taking away particularly the Karma in particular, as the Thresh is one of the best supports now in the game, especially with that new development of the Lantern Max, as we are into the second waves of bans, and the Camille and the Castan, through the best solo lanes, carries, especially Castan, taken away now in the second wave.
Yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense. They're looking to go hard after Arcane Teddy's champion pool as much as possible in the second round of bans, given that I think we're expecting him to be one of the key carries for this team. Whereas on the opposite side, taking away the Castellan, taking away the Cho'Gath, just covering their bases for this SGFC solo lane combo here. And I'm wondering what the strategy is blind. Do they want to put Jojo on something? Do you want to give him a safer matchup against Arcane Teddy, perhaps? Or are they just going to say, all right, we'll let Arcane Teddy counterpick you and we'll put our own mid laner in a good position? Looks as if they're going to go for the latter. Scion blind pick here on R4 for SGFC.
Yeah, Scion is a very dangerous blind pick. It's actually very counterable. So unless you see the early top lane pick, it's a very dangerous pick, as the Xerath is actually taken for Spuds. And that's another interesting blind pick to have, as the Aatrox is hovered. Yes, the Aatrox is taken, so I was expecting a more fighter-based. It could have even been Darius into the team, as with the real short range of SGFC's comp. The Darius would have been a really strong pick, as the Mask of Jelly now, or sorry, the final pick being taken for SGFC, as it is the Corki. So
Yep.
double ADC, double hard carry comp for the side of SGFC. They're gonna really come online in the later game with that Lulu, with that Vayne, with that Corki, but they're really trusting that and even the Scion with the health stacking, he does typically have the weaker early mid game. So they're really trusting that Udyr to get them through the first portion of the game, but with the Aatrox and the Olaf in particular, it is very possible for Toasted Bagels to spiral the first part of this game out of control.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the game plan here. Coming up against a Vayne and a Corki, a lot of damage coming out between the two of them in the later stages of the game. And while obviously you yourself have the Xerath and the Tristana, it's still risky to get to that point, especially when you're trying to make your way through what's going to be quite a beefy front line and a good bit of support coming through from that Lulu. So you would imagine they want to use maybe the pick power of some of their picks, the early strength that Olaf can kind of have just running over people, to try and kind of convert when it comes to some skirmishes, some more mid-game fights. Otherwise, there is the risk of them getting front to back, especially for two key players on SGFC in the form of Barry and Vayne.
Yeah, it's not quite a counter, but the almost soft counter to that is that Xerath in the mid lane, who as the game scales on will start to get very scary from range. He'll have that, I think it's almost 900 to 1000 range on the Q, so he will be able to start poking out the carries, and if they have a lot of trouble approaching the wave, then he can really start to put on the pressure and soften up those targets for the rest of his team to follow up. And that's the late game plan from the side of Toasted Bagels, I think, where Xerath just starts to poke them out, and then the Tristana, Olaf, and Aatrox jump in, try to clean up anyone as they sit around half to 70% health. It is important to note that it is the Lulu, so her only healing will come from the Moonstaff that she will be expected to pick up fairly early on. But beyond that, her shielding isn't the strongest, so she has to rely on the ult and the Moonstone to keep her team healthy, especially through the Xerath poke.
Yep, certainly a lot of effort there to be careful in those scenarios that they don't get poked out. There is the Xerath and the Tristana who will add their range into some of those scenarios, but if they can get an engage off, then they can cut that distance down and potentially make it tricky, especially in those later stages of the game when the front line can just sit there, the back line it can pump the damage out without too much hassle. We're going to go to a quick break as we count down on the 3-minute timer, so make sure you guys stick around. We'll be bringing you the first game of Division 1 in Super Series Tournament 4 in just a few minutes. See you guys in a few. We are onto Summoner's Rift for the first Division 1 game of the Super Serious Tournament. Oh, I'm excited for this one. This one's going to be spicy here. Toasted Bagels, with an unfortunate acronym being given to us by Dave here on the broadcast, on the blue side. SGFC on the red. Both these teams with pretty high aspirations, I think, in the tournament. SGFC will certainly be looking to run deep, potentially a dark horse to win it all. Toasted Bagels just looking to make a big name for themselves. Some of the newer players on the team, some of them a little bit more known, especially on the UK side, looking to prove themselves here in this kind of tournament here. Going into game one, I think a holistic look at these comps. I think both teams opted for comfort. I think SGFC's comp is functions a little bit better. It's a little easier to execute. You were kind of had some trepidations though about some of the elements, particularly I think the Corky last pick. You were a little bit curious about.
Yeah, maybe it's just a misunderstanding of the role Corky fills, but I think especially with Vayne in the ADC role where she really carries later into the game, I would like to see a more slightly supportive mid laner, maybe even something like Orianna that can do more for the Vayne. But right now, the Lulu in particular will almost be split between wanting to help the Corky and the Vayne, and especially with the tools that I'm not calling them that Toasted Bagels have with the means to get on the backline, the Alistair, the Olaf, and even the Aatrox can all get on the backline. It'll be difficult to protect both of them. So I would have liked I just would have liked to see something like the Orianna come out, even if something like the Karma was taken away, or even the Seraphine. The Seraphine got through pick ban freely as well, so neither team opting into that. But we are starting to see some of the lane matchups come into fruition though, as Postman Pat and Wheeler are already getting bullied out in the spot lane.
Yeah, this is early level 2 coming in for Vayne God and Mask of Jelly. We're expecting this pair to be, maybe not just in this matchup, but in general, one of the premier bot lanes in this entire tournament here. You can see them already flexing their advantage, and they have the Vayne for Vayne God as well, which is a pretty big warning sign, I think, for anyone going against them in those sort of instances. And I'm wondering, what do you think Postman Pat and Wheeler have to do when faced with this scenario? Because they're going to have to really step up here to limit Vayne God and Mask of Jelly's impact on this game.
Well, I was saying that I think it's really up to actually Spuds to enable the rest of his team. He wants to whittle everyone on the side of SGFC down and let his team jump in, but they can't do so when they're full health, as the Scion and the Udyr will just act as frontline. But if the Xerath starts to get chunks down on everyone, then the Tristana, the Olaf, and the Aatrox will really find it easier, my apologies, to get onto the backline, as they do start to run away, and they still can start to chunk them out, especially with the Ragnarok and the World Eater speeding them up. And even the Alistair to get some follow-up engage or lead the way with the engage, as they are sitting on that lower health pool. But if it does come to just a straight 5v5 fight, then I find it very difficult for a world in which SGFC lose.
Certainly. Having a quick look at the top lane here, as we see Arcane Teddy just off to a decent start on this Aatrox. I think independent of draft, he'd be a player that we would expect to be the big carry for this team. He's on a pick that will want to have a nice impact in this 1v1. We'll look to try to take control of the top lane. And he's going to be pretty important for his team's fortune, specifically in this first game.
Yes, I said it in Champ Select, but that Scion blind pick, very counter pickable. Aatrox has fallen out of the meta with the constant nerfs he got, as particularly to, I believe, his E and even his Q damage, and then his Org slowly got whittled away. It has seen some play, particularly in the LCK, but generally throughout the world has fallen out of favor. But one thing we did see here in Europe was Broken Blade in the playoff series for the LEC, taking that Darius into the Scion. And Darius, similar to the Udyr, likes it. The more short range, the more melee champs there are in the game, Udyr is loving it. He has 3 targets generally to bear stun with the Alistair, the Olaf, and the Aatrox, as we see the Drake started up by the side of SGFC, and they will have to get, and Toast Bagels will have to give that one over.
Yeah, no chance for them to contest that. Dunyan on the top side of the map, so this will be a Drake going over. We'll see if the Scion can make a play happen though, as he waits in that top side bush, looking to really capitalize, get the wave in as close as possible before Arcane Teddy goes for the play, and he dives in with the first Aatrox Q. Dunyan popping the Ghost as well. They have the Xerath ultimate to capitalize on this as level 6 is hit for Spuds. Jojo going to pop the ultimate, but it's not going to be enough. But one more auto might be able to do it. Teddy has to dash out, maybe overstay it a little bit, but he does get himself to safety. However, Dunyan has to run away from the Scion and passive. Can't get away quick enough. Jojo getting jumped on by 2.5 people there, and he manages to trade his life for 1.
Yeah, what looked like such a great gank for the side of Toasted Bagels turned so bad so quickly. To counter the Drake, they knew they couldn't contest. You see it all the time. They make a play on the opposite side of the map, try and put Jojo even further behind than what he was. You see an 18 CS difference, and Arcane Teddy had that wave frozen until Dunyan arrived, and I think it still is frozen for Arcane Teddy, who will be able to use that TP back. But one thing they didn't appreciate was the fact that Jojo had backed and TP'd and actually already had the Bramble Vest. So Dunyan and Arcane Teddy's initial burst was just cut down so much, especially with both champs wanting to heal off the damage. And Jojo just being able to turn that one around with the passive, catching the kill on Dunyan. And even with Spud's right of the Arcane Comets coming in, just not able to pick that one up as freely as they thought.
Certainly just overestimating their ability to pull that play off. Arcane Teddy still with a significant CS lead, so pretty much he himself is doing fine in gold relative to this Scion, and Dunyan's going to be happy to walk away with the kill from that play, but that could have been a lot cleaner. There's a bit of a demotivator here, and I think Jojo is going to take the little pick-me-up despite the deficit that he's facing in this top side. They're still going to have to keep their eye on it as the Aatrox continues to dominate just in terms of farm, but certainly not as cleanly to make plays against this Scion as maybe they initially would have expected. And actually now, Goose going to show up topside, looking to see if they can get a second kill here. Going to flash, look for the stun. World Ender is popped, so Arcane Teddy does have the extra move speed, and they're not able to make enough damage stick just yet. Don't you look for the counter gank, and he is at the perfect position to turn that one around. Second kill of the game for this Olaf. Looking for number 3 if he could just get to Jojo here, although I think he's a little bit wary about giving over another kill here to the Scion in passive form. Arcane Teddy going to swipe him down with the last Q. They should be able to get away from the Scion. Meanwhile, bot side as well. Postman Pat has to jump away from a trade. They'll turn attention away from Wheeler, but I think this is the Alistair going down as Vanguard looking to stick to the alley. Flashes forward, but Wheeler has a flash of his own and uses the move speed to get away there. Nice escape coming through from Postman Pat and Wheeler. And topside, 2 more kills come through for Toasted Bagels.
Yeah, we see just an exact repeat of the play we saw 2 minutes ago, as Dunyan and Arcane Teddy, now with the backs and actual items bought, are able to punish Jojo a lot more, as we do go into a replay, and Goose went up to hit the wave, which is, I honestly have no idea. Maybe he felt the need to push it, but Dunyan being there for the counter gank meant Goose and Jojo get punished for this possible gank and the overextension, as Postman Pat trying to chunk Vanguard just gets punished for it, and Wheeler not even level 6 yet, whereas Vanguard and Mask of Jelly both were. So that trade turning into a fight much more than Postman Pat and Wheeler expected. And while that was happening, the Xerath Spuds was caught in the river by Barry and had to blow his flash, as Barry this time countering the long range ult, as we actually see the lane swap coming through for SGFC, as Mask of Jelly and Vanguard are making their way topside for this Rift Herald, and just the show of force should be enough. I don't like seeing ADCs in particular staying, as Barry goes on Spuds in the mid lane.
Spuds is, yeah, he's quite close and quite low here. Mask of Jelly will be the one who gets the kill credit there. Bit of an overstay. from the Toasted Bagels mid laner. Bit of a freebie there. Go over to the Lulu. Not perfect, but they'll take it. They get the Rift Herald as well for Goose to make plays with. I think they'll be pretty happy with the lane swap scenario too, as it's Sion versus Aatrox stuck in that 1v2. I think the Sion will be much more content with being that dedicated weak side for the moment being. So nice play there from SGFC to pick up quite a few advantages for themselves, quite a few small advantages just in that passage of play.
Yeah, right now they are behind in gold though, as Postman Pat and Wheeler were able to get the plates that they missed out on from the pressure, but we see a dive in the top lane.
Dive coming through here. Arcane Teddy going to get condemned into the wall, immediately stunned up. So much CC, and that's enough to get Goose the kill here. He's going to have to drop tower aggro eventually, but that's more than enough. This should set up this tower so easily for Vanguard and Co to take.
Yeah, Arcane Teddy just not maybe it's all of Toasted Bagels just not at all appreciating or respecting the dive potential by SGFC. Once that Herald went down and Aatrox was by himself, they needed to send someone up top to cover the Herald drop, as you see Dunyan going on Jojo, but Jojo does have the flash in, as we see the replay as well. And yeah, just Arcane Teddy by his lonesome in this top lane as the lane swap came through. He just could not be up there by himself. He needed either Wheeler or Dunyan to back him up, just as I said earlier, a show of force just to make sure they didn't get that dive off for free. And what was 800, nearly 1k goal lead for the side of Bagels has turned complete 180. But now that the turret is picked up by Postman Pat, the gold will come even, as the second Drake was also picked up actually by the side of Bagels, as the Dragon Soul is Earth, which is massive for both teams, as it will benefit particularly the top side of and the jungle side of the map a lot, as little trade over this control ward. But yeah,
Blue team going to defend their control ward here and maybe see if they can pick off Jojo, as the Sion has dropped to half health, but no one to really pump out enough consistent damage to threaten him in this scenario. And he's actually sticking around. He's making sure that he gets what he came for, with the rest of his team coming in to back him up. I say that, but this Sion's actually being dropped pretty low, and Jojo may have to reconsider, although Goose may have found Wheeler just a little bit too far forward. Unbreakable Will is pop, but that Alistair's already very low. A few more auto attacks may be enough, but there's enough backup from Toasted Bagels to turn that one around. Dunyan going to walk forward, use a Stridebreaker to get himself back out of that scenario, as these teams happy to contest. However, Arcade Teddy going to look for the Sion. Ults traded immediately as Jojo steams down the river away from any danger. But right into the waiting arms of Postman Pat, who's going to jump in, get knocked up by the decimating smash, and swarmed on by SGFC. However, it was traded back, Spud sniping that one away from quite a distance. So Postman Pat maybe overextending a little bit, but it was a 1-for-1.
Yeah, just there's honestly not much to say about this replay. It was just skirmishes where both sides were trying to get poked down, then staying that little bit too long, so they started to get punished a bit more. As this all started from a fight over the control ward, as the kills do go over to both mid laners, so they are just about equal in their worth. But I do think it is slightly more worrisome that the berry on this Corki, as we see a possible dive in the bot lane.
Postman Pat looking to get picked off once again, but has the rocket jump, so Goose can't quite get to the Tristana. However, once again, just creating space for Vanguard to push this wave down, try get some damage onto this tower. Not sure he'll be able to take it out on this wave, as Postman Pat and Wheeler are able to get back under that tier 1, but you could see the way that SGFC are approaching this game. They want to move members to a side lane around Vanguard, try either make a dive happen or just generate enough pressure that they can knock down these towers, and they've been able to do that quite well off the first Rift Herald take to generate the tempo that they need to kind of just control the game flow as they need for the moment, which is quite good given how with the Vayne, with the Corki, this is a team that will scale well.
Yeah, you said it yourself. Everything's off that first dive in the top lane onto Arcane Teddy. Once they got that first turret down, they've just Vanguard and Mask of Jelly have just been able to freely move around the map, and wherever they go, Goose soon follows. And if any fight breaks out at any point as well, Jojo can very quickly join from either side lane if it's even remotely near the river, as the third Drake will be spawning soon, as we are seeing Postman Pat and Wheeler already setting up for it, but we'll see if SGFC look to contest this, as
One
they do
thing,
have the...
one, I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say one thing to note is that Arcane Teddy does have the teleport, whereas Jojo, currently stuck without, can use the unstoppable onslaught to make his way down the river, but a little bit less flexible if he can't get himself in the right position. But you can see the Scion; he's already sneaking down, making sure that he is in a position to join his team without the need of that teleport summoner spell. But Arcane Teddy going to pop his now to make sure that it is a 5v5 towards that bot side as these teams look to wrestle control of the next Dragon. Vanguard going to pop the final hour, immediately looking for Postman Pat. The Tristana will rocket jump away, and we're going to try to knock Vanguard back into the team, but there's no space created. Barry going to jump onto the backline as they go all in for Postman Pat and drop the Tristana. Wheeler, the next victim, is already the bot lane for Toasted Bagels, has been picked off, and their chance of getting this Drake has been severely diminished here after they lose 2.
Yeah, barring a possible steal, but they do have a Xerath and an Olaf, but Dunyan is walking away, and Jojo and Mask of Jelly will be zoning Spuds off it, so no chance for the steal, as they will not get even in range of Xerath's extremely long one. Long range by that, I mean, as, yeah, the fight, we see the replay going on, but the trigger on the fight pulled just that little bit too early, as Vanguard got the initial burst down on Postman Pat, did pop the final hour in the bush and used the invisibility to get the early poke on Postman Pat, and Wheeler, I'm not sure if Wheeler was looking to engage or simply disengage the fight, but got caught nonetheless, as the fight was started before Dunyan and Spuds were even really there, and Arcane Teddy, despite being there, was still not in a position. And I said it in Champ Select, but if it comes down to a straight 5v5 fight, then I just don't see how Toasted Bagels comes out on top against this double carry with the Lulu to back them up.
I can see Toasted Bagels making some good moves in response. That's, I think, the second time where they've been losing stuff on one side of the map. They're able to cross map it for something. Obviously, a post 14-minute Rift Herald isn't the ideal, but they'll still be able to use it in that mid lane to get some chip damage up the tower. Once again, the post pack going over the wall, going to jump in 1 versus 2. And he's going to go down. That's a bit of a freebie going over to Vanguard, who's going to say, thank you very much. Second kill of the game for him.
Yeah, whether it be Div 1 or Div 2, the curse of the Irish Tristana never fails. As we see, a fight in the mid lane.
Another fight breaking out as they look for Wheeler under the tower. But this Alistair, happy to tank a lot of damage with the Unbreakable Whale. And Jojo just having to face tank so many tower shots, but will not fall. The protection from the Lulu will be enough to keep him alive. Arcane Barrage, though, does finish it off in the end. Spuds make sure that it's at least a 1-for-1 for the dive here. Jojo can't withstand so many tower shots and get away with it.
Yeah, we see this time Bagels do give the backup to defend the turret, but Jojo with the unstoppable onslaught just charges right in and is tanky enough to just dive the turret, especially with Goose and Mask of Jelly backing him up. But we see what happens if SGFC are left even remotely low with Spuds up in the backline. He is able to just snipe them from the backside. That being said, Jojo has no finished item, and all he has in terms of magic resist is that 1 null magic mantle, as the first items have well and come through, but we will look at them now, as Wheeler also waiting on his first item alongside Jojo, but we see the Kraken Slayer and the PD already coming through for Vanguard, who is already on that 2-item power spike. Is 2300 gold ahead of his counterpart, as some of that can be contributed to Postman Pat almost gifting them to Vanguard, especially with those rocket jumps in. And the Essence Reaver first item by Barry on this, I'm assuming it's Barry and not Barry. I'm not sure which.
I believe it is Barry. I've been fooled before, but I'm pretty sure it's Barry.
We're already not sure about Dunyan, but it is Barry. I've been told by the voice. But the Essence Reaver and the Manamune, the first 2 items coming through, I'm not a big fan of the Essence Reaver on the Corki, especially without the as maybe he feels the need to or he can get the auto attacks in a lot more without that RFC or the rapid fire canyon. But I would have liked to see the shield bow coming through, especially with the possible dive potential I mentioned earlier from Toasted Bagel's side, as if they do get on top of this Corki, he will just get blown up, as he has no defensive capabilities to speak of. He has opted into the Sork trade, so no even defensive boots. And the shield bow as well, the lifesteal from the shield bow would have been really big to stop Spuds potentially poking him out. So, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of this Essence Reaver on the Corki.
Even so, we'll see if he can do stuff with it. Still waiting on a mythic, as he also has the Mana Moon finished as well. I think the major difference is in that bot lane. You can see Vanguard about 2,500 gold up over Postman Pat's Tristana. You can see it in the items where he's about a full item up at the moment over Postman Pat. So certainly going to be something to watch out for in these team fights. If they can't pick off the Vayne immediately, big advantage for SGFC, as both teams now squaring up for this Mountain Drake spawning in just a few seconds. We saw last time Postman Pat and Wheeler get picked off a little bit. They'll be a lot more wary about making the same sort of maneuver again. But for the moment, control of this bot river completely for SGFC.
Yeah, and Barry is matching Spuds in the mid lane, but the package is up for Corki, which is just a stronger Rumble ult. So, Toasted Bagels, they are looking for the steal, but Goose is not going to let that happen, as the package is used in the mid lane.
Barry was getting antsy, looking for something here, and a lot of damage onto Spuds as well. The Scion ultimate will not be enough to finish off that kill in that scenario. However, they may look to turn the damage back around into Wheeler, who's stunned up, but blocking enough oncoming damage with that Unbreakable Will to survive. However, the poke is probably more than enough to force Toasted Bagels away from their tier 1 tower. As we're going to have a replay at that fight coming through afterwards.
Yeah, as again, Spud's getting caught out by the displacement on the ore where he's stuck in place, and Barry making good use of it, getting all that damage on Spuds, making him have to use that TP or the flash away, as Postman Pat had to rocket jump over the wall. I'm not really sure why he was by the Raptors instead of being in the mid lane, especially when Toasted Bagels decided to give up that second Drake, as the failed steal by Spuds coming out and being harshly punished by Barry, just like it was earlier. And the last time the lack of flash resulted in a kill for Barry. It did go over to Mascajelli that time, but Spuds now without that flash again can be punished, as both teams are looking towards this Baron now that the Drake is off the map.
The Xerath going to be very wary without the flash available of where he is standing. Obviously, he can afford to stay quite a ways away, but one false move and he could find himself being in a tricky position with no way out. So certainly on him to position quite well. Baron now, the one major objective up on the map for the next few minutes, and we can already see the Vaynes already moved up towards that top side. They have Jojo in the bot lane. It's simple, clean macro coming through for SGFC. However, they still have that mid-tier 1 to take, so I'm wondering if they would like to shift their attention to that at some point as well, as especially with all the tier 1 towers being dropped by Toasted Bagels previously, there's a little bit more of an avenue for them to safely garner vision if they can push in and get some pressure for themselves in different areas of the map. And actually Vanguard may have overstepped himself a little bit here, so he's going to get locked, chased down here by 2, although he's turning a ton of damage around onto Arcade Teddy, who's exhausted up. Goose coming in as well. It will be a 1-for-1 off the bat, but they do drop the Vayne, who on bot side. Postman Pat finally looking to see if he can get a kill, but he just dropped by Barry, and they cannot kill the Mask of Jelly, who wild growths himself and just runs away. Weir's going to knock him over the wall, and it's a double kill for Barry on the Corki. They trade 1-for-1 topside, but it is an advantage for SGFC mid. Is the fight going to continue? A triple kill for Barry there, as Spuds was caught too far forward, and a big win for SGFC in that mid lane.
Yeah, what started really good for Bagels, as we saw, getting onto Vanguard, who was just caught in the top lane, but Postman Pat just focusing for that kill on Mask, really wanted that reset on the rocket jump, but Barry was just freely hitting him away, as Wheeler, the headbutt onto the Lulu was actually the only chance I think they had to kill the Mask, as if he had gotten away, he wouldn't have been in range of the Xerath, but surviving barely with those shields, shielding himself. He has 2 ADCs, but if everyone just focuses him, he's all the happier, as Mascajelli barely surviving that, but Goose being able to turn that potential pick in the top lane as Vanguard was just able to survive long enough with the final hour that Goose was able to get the pickup kill as we see the final Drake now spawning in about 40 seconds as Vanguard is caught again by Dunyan.
Yeah, although 1v1, I don't think the Olaf really wants to take that. However, some backup coming through, and immediately Vanguard's going to find himself facing down a lot more people here. He tries to turn the damage onto Wheeler, but this time, Postman Pat, rather than being 1v4, he's 4v1, and he gets the kill.
Yeah, Vanguard, deja vu almost, caught in the exact same position as he was about a minute ago. Just trying to solo farm in the top side. I have no idea why he's there alone. His team is just so far ahead. They may only be 3k gold ahead, but for a double ADC composition with an Udyr, to be ahead, let alone or to be even, let alone ahead at this point in the game, is too good for them. As
Actually,
we do see the Baron started off.
Yeah, this presents a good opportunity for them to start the Baron with the Vayne being dead. They still will have to deal with Barry's Corki as he moves into the area, but it is a 5v4. Arcane Teddy popping the World Ender at the front, but they've already taken a ton of damage here. Maybe there's the opportunity for SGFC to start the fight. More than anything, just looking to disrupt the Baron take here, although Dunyan is sticking to it. It's on about 4k health as Jojo looking to flank the backside here, but the Scion is completely isolated and will be dropped by Dunyan. Looking to chop down someone in his passive, and he's actually might be able to get Wheeler there, although forcing the Buster shot out to ensure the safety of the Alistair. Not getting the Baron, but it is another kill, as once again some moves being made by Toasted Bagels.
Yeah, as Jojo pulling the trigger there on the fight, we see it. We see Bagels was just taken so low, but that being said, we might see another Drake or another fight over the Drake as it is Soul.
And this is Dunyan's going to have to go into the pit to try contest this here, but he's just locked up immediately and shut down. Clean play coming through from Vanguard there and the rest of his team, and they're going to get that. Meanwhile, Spuds has been cut out by Corki and the package. Barry unstoppable now. 5-0 and 5 as they're going to try chase down anyone else from Toasted Bagels out of that bottom side jungle. 2 down, one of them being the jungler. There will be no opportunity for Toasted Bagels to contest this Baron, which Goose and co are moving to.
Yeah, this Baron will be pretty much picked up for free by the side of SGFC, but everything went out of control from that original Baron fight, from that Vanguard pick, where they thought they could start up the Baron, especially with the Tristana, but they really just didn't have anyone to tank, as Jojo just able to walk away pretty freely as he takes almost no damage as Vanguard and Goose.
Oh no, Arcane Teddy was trying to make a play onto the Scion here, but he's going to be the one who finds himself the prey rather than the predator here. He will fall to Vanguard. Wheeler the next victim, as all of that damage reduction will not stop you against Vayne Silverbolts. Double kill for Vanguard as Barry's solo pushing the bot lane here, as this game is quickly beginning to crumble here for Toasted Bagels.
Yeah, we see what could be end as Spud literally walks into potential range of Vanguard, and with that passive increased movement speed is just able to run him down, as we see the potential end of the game. And oh, the rocket jump.
Yeah, Postman Pat not able to buffer that one. He'll go down to Jojo here. Dunyan, the last member alive, but not for long. Ace comes through, and in the end, it was a slow start, but by the end, it was an avalanche. Game 1 of this series going over to SGFC.
Yeah, we see the real snowball potential of that double carry comp, and yeah, just Vanguard just doing so much work on his namesake, as he is able to just tear apart Toasted Bagel's side, as we will be looking at the damage graph. And actually Barry doing a lot of damage himself, as we saw what happened when he was able to get on particularly Spuds, as they took that last dragon, where he used the package right onto the Xerath and was just able to two-shot him just the same way Vanguard did 2 minutes later in the base. As yeah, just everything spiraled out of control from that Baron call. They picked Vanguard and they thought they could do so much and overstep themselves by getting onto that Baron, but were taken so low. And Jojo did die in that fight, but honestly, if he hadn't gone in, Toasted Bagels didn't have the Baron that low. They were taking so much damage. They almost would have died. And just losing that much health meant they lost the Earth Soul and eventually the game not 2 minutes later.
Yeah, certainly a big performance there from SGFC. It was tough for them to wrestle control at points, but as soon as they had those Drakes in a position where they could get them out, and so dominoes just fell almost instantly. We're going to go to a quick break as we get ready for the second game of this series, so make sure you guys stick around. We'll be back with game 2 in just a few minutes.
it saves it.
We are into Champion Select for Game 2 of this best of 2 between SGFC and Toasted Bagels. SGFC coming out in Game 1 quite strong. It was solid. They kept it for the most part clean, and while not a dominating victory, by the end of the game, they were the ones firmly in the driver's seat. Now looking at Game 2 here, Xenolot, what adaptations do you think Toasted Bagels are going to have to look to bring here for the second game?
Well, first off should be the bans, and damn it, they got ahead of me, but the Vayne taken away from Vanguard. Even though it shouldn't fit into every comp, giving Vanguard his ideal comfort pick, even in a competition of this caliber, you're just asking for trouble. Postman Pat and Wheeler could just not play the laning phase, let alone any part of the game. And we saw that even when the game was relatively even, Postman Vanguard had about 2,400 gold, and that was the best point, the closest point at which Postman Pat and Vanguard were at before the game spiraled out of control, as the Hecarim actually taken away by the side of Toasted Bagels, which is a bit confusing considering we saw the Udyr get taken by Goose in the last game, so maybe they're looking to take that away and force Goose off comfort, but it could still just be taken as the Thresh that was banned away last game is taken for the Masca Jelly in this one.
We'll see if SGFC look to jump on. Well, the other pick that was banned away was that Karma. A little bit less of a scope to take it now, but maybe they do go for it. I think it was a case of trying to force SGFC into an Udyr first pick. Now the option is available for Toasted Bagels if they want to get that one for Dunyan and maybe force Goose onto a lower priority pick than he would potentially like. And that is the option here. They're going to take the Udyr for themselves. I'm not sure if they want to grab 80 carry prio for the moment, or maybe look to opt for something else here. This is the point where the draft diverges, and you would imagine that Toasted Bagels going to try direct the flow. Right now, hovering a Jinx here, which would make sense in that bot lane here. Would be a nice denial away from Vanguard as well, although he still has a plethora of champions that he can really go to.
Yeah, the Jinx taken away for Postman Pat, but it's an interesting switch up for Toasted Bagels team. It means they are going to put a bit more emphasis on getting Postman Pat at least even, so he can carry these later fights, as expect maybe the Lilia for Goose in counter to the Udyr. That would be probably the highest priority pick for the jungle, as the Varus actually, yes, taken away for Vanguard. It is, for those in the ADC world, known as the counter against Jinx, as whether it be on hit or lethality, particularly lethality, means Jinx can just not play the game, as we will get word on what that...
Morgana.
It's Morgana, so that will be flex,
that
possibly between the jungle or mid lane.
Yeah.
But in contrast to the Corki, it'd be very surprising if Barry was to take that into the mid lane, it would be a very big switch up for his role in the first game, as the karma that they themselves banned away in the first game taken for the side of Toasted Bagels, as we are seeing quite a few flexes, so it's hard to say where some of the lane assignments is going, and both teams will be taking that into account with their bans.
Yeah, I'm curious as to where that karma is really going to go. I would imagine the Morgana is a lot more set for that jungle. Goose has been grinding it out ever since those changes came through, and you can see as well Toasted Bagels anticipating that they're still going to look to ban away some mid laners here if they can. The Corki being a key performer in that last game. I think Barry going deathless in game 1 here, so they may want to force them onto something a little less comfortable here if they possibly can. But the Karma, like you said, just leave open a few options here. You would imagine the Toasted Bagels will look to throw around that flex pick, although that Or4 will likely be a lot more enlightening as to where they want to go with the Karma pick. It may just depend on what's available for their solo laners here. Once again, denying the Cho'Gath away from Jojo. Key pick for him. Sion last game didn't have the best of times, but was more than enough a facilitator in that front line for the rest of his team.
Yeah, that being said, in regards to Toasted Bagels are on red side this time, so they do have that counter pick option for Arcane Teddy, which they didn't in the last game, as the Silas is taken away again by the side of SGFC. It's just not looking to get that in either lane, as we see the Akali actually coming through for what I assume to be Spuds. I can't. Maybe it's going into the top lane. Maybe Arcane Teddy is well versed on it into the top side, as we will potentially be seeing another tanky top side for the side of Jojo. He will potentially be playing weak side, as the Rai is actually going to be buy-in picked. Again, as they are hoping the Aatrox, the Rise could go into either lane, but again, will probably be into that mid lane with the Morgana in the jungle, as we are waiting to see that top lane pick.
Yep, flicking through the last few picks here. Let us kind of messed around with what they're going to go for. It will be once again a tank in the top lane for Jojo. He's going to opt for that Ornn, and still quite a bit of flexibility in terms of what Toasted Bagels want to do if they really want to get spicy with a few of these picks. That Akali can go into the solo lane. The Karma could go a number of different places if they really want it here. And well, that would be the full commitment, and they do go for it. The Yone coming through at the end there. I think just based off of intuition, obviously at this point the Karma's confirmed for support. My guess is that it'll be the Yone going top lane and the Akali mid, just off the back that in terms of familiarity, the Yone stands out as a pick for Arcane Teddy here.
Yeah, the Yone is a comfort pick for Arcane Teddy. That being said, I think the Akali does really well into the Ornn. Ornn has a lot of trouble, obviously, proccing his brittle procs against the Akali, so especially once Akali hits those 4, 5, 6 level points, and is able to spam the Q from range, as the energy cost goes down, as it is extremely high at level 1. It's 130 base, so it's more than half your base energy cost. But as the Akali is able to spam it more, she is able to poke down the Ornn more. But it'll be interesting to see where those two picks actually end up going. But the Karma to back them up as well, it's really beneficial. I think it's a bit of a change for Wheeler, as he is on a safer pick, as that Yone is actually taken in the top side, or at least I believe so, unless it gets swapped at the last minute by the side of Toasted Bagels. But we do see another interesting point is the Morgana in the jungle, as with those increased tormented soil changes in the last patch, where the damage to creeps was increased from 150% to 200%. So she does have one of the fastest clears in the game. Morgana as a champion has been underutilized, I believe, in the meta, even in things like pro play, where that black shield to defend any one champ with from CC or magic damage, I think is just such a strong utility tool for any team to have.
Yeah, certainly will be looking to make use of it. Once again, a good bit of support for the two carries in this team. The Rise and the Varus, maybe a little less of late game monsters that we kind of see the Vayne Corki combo to be, but I mean at the same time as well, they've got the Ornn items here, and there's certainly no slouches in that regard. This Varus goes that attack speed build, so yeah, I mean quite good scaling options here once again for SGFC, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But on the other side, it is the spice, the Yone Akali solo lanes, Arcane Teddy and Spuds going to really look to pull out all the stops here in game 2.
Yeah, we'll see. I do expect to see a lot of fighting, a lot of skirmishing. The Yone and the Akali both, as you said, really want to go in, have that spicy solo lane. But SGFC, if they land one CC on anyone, they're just dead. The Thresh Hooks, the Varus ults, the Rise Rune Prisons, the Dark Bindings, Call of the Forge God, they all have their own forms of CC, and if anyone on the side of Toasted Bagels gets caught out and they're not Udyr, they will just get blown apart.
Yeah, they definitely have to watch out for that one. Once again, we're going to go to a quick 3-minute break as we get ready to stream the second game. Make sure you guys stick around. We'll be bringing you the second game of this best of 2 in just a few minutes. We are into the second game of this best of two here between SGFC and Toasted Bagels. Our first Div 1 series of Super Series Tournament 4. And SGFC kind of coming in as the favourites here with the 1-0 advantage, looking to close this one out. Going for a similar-ish comp to what they had last game. It's definitely going to be heavily based around the mid and AD pumping out the damage. But, I mean, immediately off the bat, you see on the other side, there's that massive solo lane presence of the Yone, the Akali. Both are going to be looking to pop off this game. And I think maybe less so Spuds, given that he's up against a pretty competent player in Barry. But I mean, Arcane Teddy, the key carry for his team on this Yone, going to have to really step up here in game two. Both solo laners for Toasted Bagels, I think definitely will need to kind of deliver a little bit more than they did in the first game.
Yeah, Arcane Teddy on that Yone, he will get through the early couple levels versus Ornn, as Jojo will have a lot of trouble poking him out, especially when he starts to get those Conqueror stacks up and starts to really outdamage Jojo in those early levels. But as soon as Jojo gets his first gets his first item in with the potential Bramble Vest, it will be nigh on impossible for Arcane Teddy to do pretty much any damage onto the Ornn. So it should be a pretty boring top lane unless we see the junglers starting to make their way topside, starting to pressure topside, but both junglers are actually starting red side. So both junglers acknowledging that top lane should be on the more boring side.
Yeah, that leads us to look a little bit more at this bot lane here. You pointed it out in draft that the Varus, a good counter pick into the Jinx here, but fully looking at this 2 versus 2 with the Thresh and the Karma factored in, does that stay true? Should it be a case of more dominance here for Vanguard and Mask of Jelly?
In the early side, it will definitely go in the favor of the Jinx and the Karma. Vanguard on this Varus, he just won't be able to spam his spells, won't be able to poke out Postman Pat. He doesn't have the damage or the mana for it, as Wheeler will be able to shield up any potential poke from Postman Pat, from Vanguard, as well as the fact that the rockets from Jinx will really start to hurt Vanguard in this early, as we are already seeing it with Wheeler shielding up, just getting that harass down on Mask and Vayne. But once the first item and a half starts to come through for Vanguard, and not even full finish, just serrated Dirk starts to come through, Postman Pat will start to feel the hurt in that bot side, as Arcane Teddy cancelling whatever Jojo was building in the top side, as Arcane Teddy was able to get that bounce back. But in regards to the bot lane pick, once Vanguard starts to pick up, especially the Mana Mune and the early items, as we see a possible gank in the top bot side.
Let's see how quickly the Morgana clears the jungle, and now looking to turn it into a gank immediately, but Postman Pat is patient. Flash is already down, but he just holds his ground to make sure he dodges the body, but he's staying a little bit too close there. And that allows Goose to flash forward, set up the kill, goes over to Vanguard. First blood for this Varus. Dunyan peeking mid lane as well, try to see if he can cat it, but Barry's not giving nearly as much space as the opposing AD carry did. And once again, SGFC striking early.
Yeah, and Goose had walked over a ward. We see it on the minimap. There is a ward for the side of Toasted Bagels in that tri-bush. So to get that gank off like he did, just very questionable. And all that early poking and damage done by Wheeler onto Vanguard and Mask of Jelly just completely turned around. And Postman Pat trying to get the extra damage out onto Goose. Again, a little questionable, but he gets punished for it, as Goose is just flash red buff autos him on the Morgana, and Vanguard is able to get that last auto in to pick up the kill. So he will already be accelerated. He's already sitting on 1400 gold. He's already 500 gold up on Postman Pat, and I expected to see an early gank actually in the mid lane, as Rise is a bit rare, but something that's not appreciated is the early level 2-3 gank onto Rise lanes. He has one of the easiest to set up CCs, and a lot of mid laners disrespect him in the early, as a 2-second route at level 2 can just mean death, especially when paired with the Dark Binding, and that will ring true still for later into the game, but I just expected it to see it in the mid lane. But Goose getting that early gank off in the bot, and Vanguard already getting past that early weakness I talked about earlier.
Yeah, definitely nice advantage for this Varus early. He's going to grab himself a tier and a 2 long swords to start, so you would imagine that lethality coming through for him here in this game. As once again, the Morgana's having a look in bot lane. Dunyan was close by, but he just finished his recall, so this should be a pretty clean gank if they can get this one off. And you can see now, Mask and Goose looking to step forward here. The Dark Binding will not connect. Those Chompers stopping their advance. This time, Postman, Pat, and Wheeler have the tools to get out safely.
Yeah, and that being said, even with that successful kill, only the flash burned in the bot side from Postman Pat in the previous gank attempt. Wheeler, the kill was just so unexpected on Postman Pat that Wheeler didn't even have the exhaust used, as we see Dunyan looking into that mid lane, and as well as Call of the Forge God.
Call of the Forge God is used. Arcane Teddy does go back in with his own Fate Seal, so ult's traded, but the One is quite low. Does have the third proc of his Q to get away, but the flash used by the Ornn to try follow that one down. Not going to be able to convert that into a kill. Arcane Teddy will recall, maybe force the TP back, but he'll be happy to get away with his life for now.
Yeah, and we see a potential fight over this Rift Scuttle as Dunyan just running in.
The Udyr are going to run in, get sped up by the Karma, and try cause as much chaos as he can. Nearly dropping the Mask of Jelly as that Thresh is low, but he's going to follow the death sentence and set up another kill for Vanguard. Zap will connect as they try to punish Mask of Jelly here, and Spuds jumping into the fight. Has the killer instinct up, should be enough to finish off this kill. Goes over the wall, takes down Goose. Has to get out of tower range, he maybe went a little bit too far, but he will fall. Meanwhile, Arcane Teddy has teleported bot side here, but runs headfirst into the Rise, who chunks him down and forces the One to back off. Hectic trade, but it's only a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and that all came off. It was a bit messy at first, but Dunyan actually got a lot of damage off onto Mask of Jelly, Goose, and Vanguard, as we see Barry round warping bot side in the live feed. But nothing came of it, as Wheeler is able to just shield Postman Pat, and he is able to walk away with the cleanse. But it does mean the Drake can't be picked up by the side of SGFC. But going back to the previous play, Dunyan getting a Phoenix just a single Phoenix stance auto off on 3 of the members of Bagels, put them all to about half health, which means Spuds with that final execution the perfect execution is able to just jump in on the back line of Bagels and is able to pick up that 1 kill in return, as despite all of it almost going in the favor of SGFC, they are still 1,400 gold behind.
Yeah, it is. Our overlays a little bit is mixed up a little bit right now, so it is SGFC on the blue side. We'll get that sorted as soon as we can. Instantly. Damn, that's Dave on point with the production here. But yeah, I mean, like you said, SGFC kind of maintaining their early advantage here. Varus is once again bot laner for them. Vanguard being invested in, even if he's not on the signature vein, putting in a good performance, being the beneficiary of all these kills, putting himself ahead early. And given that he is going for that lethality build, it will be very annoying to play around these objectives when he gets with those first 2 items completed. He's just be spamming those arrows and those abilities to annoy his opponents from quite a ways away. And if they can keep him out of the reaches of this Yone and the Akali, who will be more than likely trying to dive him head first, he will be making it difficult for any sort of setup to be established by Toasted Bagels around any objective or tower that they look to get.
Yeah, and SGFC do have the tools to keep Vanguard alive, the Thresh Lantern, the Morgana with the Black Shield. They do have quite a few, as we see a potential dive in the bot lane.
Hook connects, and there's no chance for Wheeler there. Will be dropped. Goose is going to be the one who gets that kill. He's in an awkward position now. He's looking to dodge Postman Pat, but a smooth little move there as he walks in for the Lantern over the wall. He'll get out, 1 kill in hand.
Yeah, and said it just as we entered into the game, a single CC lands, and they all will land, as the Varus Chains of Corruption just hitting down, and then the Thresh Hook just immediately coming out. And Morgana, or Goose on that Morgana, didn't even need to hit the Dark Binding. Wheeler, not even level 6, although with Karma that obviously means a little less. Just not able to survive, as Barry taken a little low by Spuds in the mid lane. He is just going to walk it off, as Dunyan was looking for something, but read that as Vanguard now, with the Tear of the Goddess, with the Caulfield's Warhammer, is really starting to get that poke down on Postman Patton Wheeler, who will have quite a lot of trouble sustaining now through it.
Yeah, one thing to note is that Dunyan did manage to swipe the Rift Herald on that top side of the map, so that could be a nice little bit of standing gold going the way of one of his laners should he find the right opportunity to use it. We're expecting him to focus on that top side of the map to try get it either in Arcane Teddy or Spuds' pockets, so keep an eye on the Udyr, see where he's moving around for some potential plays to be set up, although right now all the plays still being made in that bot lane here is it's about a 2,000 gold lead, hoping we get a look at where the individual goal stands, because you would imagine that most of it is for that Varus. You can see there he's 1.2 up over that Jinx, but also keeping in mind that Goose has been doing a pretty good job with himself, and Jojo in the top lane here into the Yone this time, a much improved performance here as he's the one who finds himself benefiting from the large CS lead in game 2.
Yeah, we see what happens when, I said earlier, with that Ornn getting that Bramble Vest and Arcane Teddy, even with the Vamp Scepter, just can't do anything to the steel caps, as we see Goose ganking the bot side.
Yeah, there's the flash coming through. Teleport being used here by Spuds as well to try to set up the play, but it will be moved to response. The box is dropped immediately, but Goose is already quite low. Jinx ultimate not going to connect in this counter CC, actually getting a lot of damage onto Postman Patton Wheeler, and immediately Toast Bagels have to pull the trigger on the disengage. Nice turnaround coming through from SGFC in that bot side to protect their own jungler and keep up the pressure.
Yeah, the Chains of Corruption from Varus coming out massive. It locked down Spuds the minute the TP came through, and Postman Patton Wheeler both not realizing that the chains were still spreading, as we see the Call of the Forge God in the top lane.
Once again, looking for the plays here. However, it was a nice knock-up to cancel the second proc. However, Arcane Teddy, he can't stay in this 1v1 as he's just getting beat down. Although Jojo now flashing away, he thinks he can't stay with it. Arcane Teddy may just have the play. One more Q, and the Yone turns his fortunes around. Solo kill in the top lane for Arcane Teddy.
Yeah, and that looked so favorable for Jojo, but Arcane Teddy just with the consistent DPS, as once Jojo has everything off on cooldown, as the Realm Warp does come through.
Is very close enough. He will flash to get that the Rune Prison in, and there's no chance for the Yone. His life is traded with the Rise ult.
Yeah, Realm Warp coming up big, Barry managing to get that trade kill, and Jojo didn't even get the assist, so it is actually just going to be a straight kill for Barry. So overall, about even for both teams. You want a lot of gold on the Rise, a lot of gold on the Yone, but it does mean well generally for Arcane Teddy that he is able to get that kill out on Jojo, as Jojo will actually suffer soon from the fact that he does have a lot of components for items and won't actually be able to finish an item for a little bit. Particularly the Bramble Crest and the Bammy Cinder, as the Herald is dropped mid lane by Dunyan just in time for the second Drake. They did pick up the first one, we didn't mention it earlier, but we do see potential fight over it.
You can see Dunyan looking to hunt down whoever he could get his paws onto. However, now it may be Spuds in the grasp of the enemy team here as he's jumped on by Jojo, flashing away and using the Akali Shuriken to ensure his safety. But that is a key person to have to retreat from that fight, and that will allow Goose and Mask to walk to that bot side river without much pressure and drop the Drake. They will even up that score at 1 apiece, and it will be an Infernal or Mountain Soul. We'll see in a couple of seconds. Spicy either way, but Infernal Soul I think would be the prize for either team. And unfortunately, it will be a second Mountain Soul as under bot lane Terror. Postman Pack going to be locked up, and Mask not committing to the play. Varus ultimate down. And once again, this bot lane pressure continues, but the Jinx is not going to fall this time just yet.
Yeah, and Postman Pat playing a dangerous game. If any of the piercing arrows from Varus had hit in after that Chains of Corruption, then Postman Pat would have died. Does mean Goose can just take the Gromp from Dunyan in his face, despite the fact that Dunyan had leashed it for him. But yeah, Spuds was playing a very dangerous game in that mid lane. If any of the other CCs had hit, if anything was just off cooldown just by an extra couple of seconds, as Wheeler.
Awkward spot there, and uses the stopwatch. The hook is a little bit wide, but it doesn't matter because there's so much crowd control. Fate's healed up from Arcane Teddy as he's going to jump in and try to get the re-engage. A lot of damage on the Goose, enough to drop him down. It's a 1-for-1, but surely it'll be 2 in just a second here as Dunyan having to flash away. The Udyr is so fast though, and he'll just be able to run out of the mid lane before anyone can even think of catching him. Nice escape from Dunyan, confirming that's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, that 1-for-1 trade really a great Fate Unsealed from or Fate Sealed, sorry, from Arcane Teddy, but Dunyan was just able to walk out as the thresh from Mask missing actually meant that they stayed a bit longer and they had to walk through the mid lane. As we see in the replay, then the Call of the Forge God, despite it hitting on Dunyan, and Barry and Jojo just walked away, maybe thinking that Mask of Jelly would be able to, or the other would be able to lock down the Udyr. So he was just able to flash and run away as just no one followed up on the CC after he was stunned by the Call of the Forge God, as we see now Spud's going on Goose in their jungle.
He's trying to make a play onto the Morgana here, who doesn't have as much defense just yet. However, is going to be able to get under the tower before he goes down. And once again, Wheeler trying to support but caught too far forward as Goose looking like he's about to die, but he'll happily take the kill for himself in response. 6th on the board here for SGFC.
Yeah, Goose just barely surviving the Akali all in, and Spuds, despite the Merc Treads being necessary, actually punished for going them, as if he had those sorcerers, he would have managed to pick up the kill on the Goose through the Black Shield, but just barely keeping alive, and Wheeler following him through into the blue side jungle, getting punished for it as he doesn't have the escape potential that the Akali does. As we are starting to see the mythics now come through for just about everyone on the map, as the Turbo Chem Tank is finished for Dunyan, as well as the Night Harvester and the Kraken Slayer were finished both for Spuds and Postman Pat respectively a bit earlier, as well as the Duskblade, Everfrost, and Leandri's Torment, or Leandri's Anguish now, coming through for the side of SGFC. So we should be expecting the mythics now coming through as well for the both top laners and supports, as we see a Realm Warp in the bot lane.
Postman Pat may be caught out here. However, he can just try run back to his jungler there. Dunyan on hand to escort Postman Pat out of a tricky situation. You can see the Rise trying to make these plays with the Realm Warp constantly. Barry's managed to make it stick twice this game, but that time around just maybe not fully aware of the situation there. It's Realm Warping on the side of the map where the Udyr was and wasting a big playmaking ultimate. However, they may still be able to find a play here as Wheeler is caught out and Goose on the flank as well. This Karma going to flash over the wall. The Doc going to be close to dropping him, and Goose hitting the Dark Binding to finish off that kill. Dunyan was just trying to see if he could get the Karma out alive, and he may fall as well. Double kill for Goose on the Morgana. That sets up the mid tower take as well. Big win for SGFC.
Yeah, we see Wheeler getting caught for the 3rd time in as many minutes
Although,
as the Fate
Arcane
Sealed.
Teddy trying to make the play here, coming through from the back. Mask of Jelly is dropped low, but the Demon is pulled back there as Arcane Teddy trying to make some sorts of plays. Can't quite find it there. Postman Pat just sniped under the tower, and the Ram will run Arcane Teddy down. Spuds, all of a sudden, the last person on his team left alive, and not for long. Barry with the double kill. Ace. Delayed ace for SGFC. Wheeler just respawned in time, but that is 5 more kills on the board and more push coming through.
Yeah, and Toasted Bagels just panicking a bit as Wheeler, after getting caught out, as I said, the 3rd time in as many minutes, does mean the Drake will go over as well, I think. But Bagels just maybe feeling that they need to go in, maybe they need to catch up some way, as they're slowly falling behind as Goose hits the binding on Dunyan.
He's now the next victim of the infinite CC channel. Also, backup coming through is the double teleport. And the members of SGFC going to be caught out here. Mask being jumped on by Arcane Teddy and will be taken out by the Yone before he slides back through that bot lane. Goose now the next focus. Right now, he's managed to find himself some distance as it's Postman Pat who's the one caught out on the side of the fight by this Rise, who is unstoppable and will not stop. They got on a rampage of his own now. Wheeler being the next one hunted down as he's looking to go down for the 5th time this game, and despite looking like they're the ones being collapsed on, SGFC get the members in the right places and once again get a big win.
Yeah, the fight still actually continues as they are still now trying to get Spuds.
Spuds.
Oh no.
Spuds 1 versus 3. He's been so baited by the Morgana throughout this game, and is going to give over his life for it.
Yeah, Mask had gone down in the previous fight, but Vanguard and Goose, and I think even Jojo hadn't backed, so they still had quite a bit of gold. Goose and Vanguard in particular, now sitting on nearly next to 3k gold, but Barry was able to get that back off, get the TP in, and it meant the world of difference as he was full health, full mana, and he doesn't need his ult to do damage. He has the spell flux, was able to do so much in that fight, and Vanguard just managed to get that Chains of Corruption back up, just had enough mana for it, as this lethality build from Barris means he has so much ability haste. I think it comes next to about a 30-40 second cooldown at rank 3. It's about 50 seconds now, and he's only level 12 with 2 items, but that Chains of Corruption just killing any momentum that SGFC had, as it meant Arcane Teddy and Spuds were just locked down, and Barry was just able to free hit them, as we see now Wheeler again having a lot of trouble getting those wards in, as Vanguard with the piercing arrows.
Okay.
But we see a
Arcane
fight
Teddy
now over the red.
Yeah, he's going to go over the wall, try to catch out the Morgana. The Thresh as well being run down by Dunyan, but the Varus CC is not going to be enough as Akali can jump to the Thresh. 2 picks already coming through for Toasted Bagels, looking for number 3 if they can just get enough damage down onto Vanguard, but the Varus under his own tower and turns that one around with a hail of arrows. Post-up as well finds a ram just pop out of the ground and drop him dead. 2 kills in response, make that 3 as Jojo burns down the Karma. 3-1 and 3 on this Ornn this time around, and it looked so good for Toasted Bagels. They have the 2 picks, but they just reach a little bit too far forward and find themselves losing that fight.
Yeah, again, another great looking fight, but
no,
as you see,
at this Rise, you can't fight him. He's too big. He takes that Dunyan. Arcane Teddy, though, is actually able to stick to him, and the owner is a bit strong. However, Vanguard smell blood in the water. He's going to go down, make that a 2-for-1.
Yeah, they just going in on that Rise with particularly the Udyr, who is, despite having that tankiness, having the Merc Treads, Rise just has that 2-item power spike, is so strong now. Has the I think he's about level 15 maybe. He's dead right now, so we will have a look when he respawns. But that catch on Mask of Jelly and Goose as they were trying to invade that red buff looked so good. But Barry and Vanguard managing to survive just long enough, and then Jojo managing to pick up those 2 extra kills with that Call of the Forge God, as I've seen more kills with just the Call of the Forge God in this game than I have in almost every other Ornn game. I think he's gotten 3 with the ult alone.
He's
Spuds.
Yeah, Spuds. I mean, I say caught out here, but he has Dunyan as a backup. However, it's going to take them a while to chunk through this Ornn, and we've seen some of the damage that Jojo can do on this champion here. Spuds is already half health. Dunyan, though, can offer some crowd control, which could help them out in their fight against the raid boss here, as Jojo wanders around just trying to stick some damage here. Meanwhile, bot side, Arcane Teddy, he's not nearly surviving as long in that kind of scenario. Barry here to back up his top laner, though, as well as Postman Pat joining the fray too. And the Rise, I think, changes the dynamic here. So immediately they're running away. Gets the root onto Postman Pat. The cleanse is used, but they're just wiped out by Vanguard on the backside. Double kill for the Varus, and Barry cleans up the Jinx too. 3 more for SGFC, and this is just a steamroll that is not stopping anytime soon here. I see 0 way back in for Toasted Bagels.
Yeah, we see Spuds and Dunyan just hitting a brick wall in that of the Ornn in the top side. Barry didn't even use the Realm Warp top. He had it the whole time. He just leisurely walked up. Had the TP as well, just walked up to the top side, had no worry that Jojo was going to survive the 1v2, as he had no issue just beating on Spuds and Dunyan, and then Vanguard, Mask and Goose flanking in from the red side, as we see what happens when Spuds is dodging in a straight line. Dodge the Call of the Forge God with this.
Oh yeah, Hook connects onto Spuds here. They're not able to finish off the Akali, but they turn their attention to Arcane Teddy, who has to flash out. Eventually the Terra goes down, and that will allow them to press further forward, and Postman Pat has been caught standing too far forward. Goose going to get his 5th of the game onto the Jinx. They look for the last inhibitor here as they do the full sweep coming through, and I would be surprised if they didn't want to end it now. Call of the Forge God used to try start one last fight. It's only going to help
Oh
the
my
Yone.
god.
That's more than enough. The damage from so far away means there's no chance for Arcane Teddy to survive that scenario. First Nexus Tower goes down. Barry trying to get his hands on anyone he can here. Goose as well, hitting a binding on the fountain, and they're just going to try kill this Karma. Wheeler has to flash away on his own fountain, and there is no chance of offering resistance for Toasted Bagels here. If game one was a decent win, game two is an absolute statement here for SGFC. Although, Spuds making one last fight of it here, trying to see if he can get onto. Jojo's quite low as he hammers away at the Nexus. He will be dropped, but we do get the freeze here. Statement game for SGFC in game two as they close the series out.
Yeah, just every ray of hope that Toasted Bagels had was just immediately stomped out. Just every close fight just being turned. They were just taken so low in every fight. But then I think it was actually the call of the Forge God in both of the two major fights that Bagels had a chance in, just getting those executes on both of Bagel's team, on Toasted Bagels carries in particular, and then in that first fight, the Change the Corruption, we saw what happens. I said it in the Champ Select, just so much CC for the side of SGFC. They were just able to lock down just about anyone they wanted at any stage, as we saw what happened on the fountain, or near the fountain. Arcane Teddy got hit by the call of the Forge God, got immediately Dark Binding in place, and just that was enough damage to kill him at that point in the game. As yeah, just so much CC, so hard for Toasted Bagels to just play the game. We said that they had so much carries, they had so much carry potential. The Jinx, the Akali, the Yone all have so much damage. But if you're just not allowed move, you're not allowed carry or play the game at any point.
Yeah, just setting up picks throughout the game, and I think Jojo as well, using that call of the Forge God like it was Urgot ult, just sniping at those executes at different points of the game. But just to finish off the stream, Xenolot, I'll open it up to you. Series MVP for our first series here in Division 1.
I mean, it has to be Barry. He did so, despite my dislike of the Corki pick into the comp in the first game, he did so much damage, did so much work with that packages, was just constantly on Spuds. He didn't even use the packages for team fights, but he was just able to jump on Spuds and take him out of pretty much every fight. And then in that second game, that first close team fight where he was able to TP after there was the initial fight, and then they fought over Drake, but he was able to get that back off, TP in, and Vanguard did do a lot of work, especially on that Varus in the second game. But I really think Barry was just a shining light, especially in the team fights in the second game.
All right, that's a fair enough assessment, I think, of that series. Barry getting the MVP. Thank you to everyone for tuning in here as we get Division 1 kicked off for the Super Series tournament. Just a couple of notices to plug out. I'm gonna plug Rivalry Captain's Draft Finals is on this weekend on Saturday at, I believe, 7:30. I think it'll be myself and Xenolot casting that as well. So make sure you guys tune in for that as we see who wins that tournament. That long awaited here as Team Legendary face off against Team Burn Pup in the finals. Once again, if you appreciate the stream, definitely give Dave a follow, Crimson Cyclist. Big production quality. Replays were pretty pog, I think, for this one. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a good evening.